What's
Welcome,
happening?
welcome, welcome. Not much, man. Thanks for coming on. We'll give it just another minute before we get underway.
Cool.
Definitely see some people cruising in. Super excited to chat today, bud.
Likewise, man. Likewise. You guys are always appreciated second family stuff, you know. So my mi casa su casa, if you know what I mean.
Let me just drop it in the chat. 1 second. Uh, uh, uh. All right. Cool. So we got people trickling in. We got about 15 people. I'm sure that they'll come in more as we get going. We got the chat going. Let's see. There we go. Let's show on stream. There we go. All right, cool. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tuesday Triggers podcast as usual, or their Tuesday Triggers session. Today we have Brandon Charlson. I don't know how many of you guys know Brandon. I know a lot of you guys do. Undoubtedly, I would say top three technical AI wizard for different use cases, right? Like you, I think Josh is doing crazy stuff always, and there's a couple people always pushing the boundaries. And we talked about this yesterday. I always felt like I used to be pushing the boundaries, and now I'm like, I'm already lost again. Like, you take like 6 months to manage a business or try and build operations or something, and it's like, well, you're gone.
Hmm.
Forget everything you knew. It's all changed already. So
Yep.
today, I think for the sake of our conversation, we can go wherever we want. We got a lot of people in, talking about already saying a bunch of stuff in chat. But let's talk about. You can take it where you want if you have anything specific, but definitely let's talk about where can people up their game most easily with AI. And I'm
Hmm.
sure some people will have some high level questions, some more advanced questions. But I think like you know just basics like okay, you're right here, you're using Clay, you're using Claygent, you're using 4.0 Mini, like that's pretty much the standard track, right? Like how
Hmm.
can people take that to the next level much more easily? How can they maybe build on N8N? How can they use AI to help them build on N8N? How can they prompt better
Hmm.
for Clay or any of the other tools? So that's
Right.
kind of where my head's at. Is there anything specific you want to talk about today?
Oh, you nailed it, man. I mean, that's where I've been living big time as far as prompts, man. I just spend most of my days freaking building prompts and just revising and refining. Because I think we're yet again, like yesterday, you and I talked, and we're talking about everybody's using 4.0 mini. Well, that shit just got disrupted now with 4.1.
Yep.
So 4.0 mini is almost legacy unless you're using like voice, text to speech or any other stuff. But I see again, like the early days of Clay. I mean, I remember using it back then when it was barely 3.5, and you're just freaking cleaning lists, and then you're just like, oh my gosh, like Claygent just came out. Now it can access the real world, right? We are yet again at another phase where I think there's uh there's there's things happening every day. It's obviously like you said, it's hard to keep up and stay sharp because I mean even just this weekend, Grok 3 was released an API, 4.1 dropped yesterday, and then they announced they're deprecating 4.5 in the API. Not sure if you guys saw that.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so I mean, OpenAI's naming convention, they even admit it. You know, their naming is total shit. So I
They
wouldn't.
constantly talk. I mean, everyone always
Yeah,
pegs like what is this shit? Like
yeah,
4.5. Now we're going 4.1, deprecating 4.5. Um,
yes.
Out of curiosity, how long does it usually take for Clay, in your experience, to get the new models in, right, or access to them via API? It's like a couple days, right?
Yes. Yeah, so I'm glad you said that because as of like I keep refreshing it. This is kind of why it's to me the most important to actually know the HTTP API freaking integration because that is the keys to the internet for whatever you want to do. And N8N even makes it even easier to use the latest models. And with all these new models coming out, they're always just continuously evolving, and sometimes they'll get watered down. You'll see new revisions, but even to that point, you'll notice your prompts are always changing, right? And so, just give me 1 second here. You'll notice. a lot of times with clay, they'll release like, they'll put it in your drop down with the integration, but you don't know actually what model they're using. And so you're just kind of limited by that, whether you use your API tokens or clay credits. So a lot of times you're just kind of confined. But that's kind of the bulk, in my opinion. That's the bulk of their audience, or what they're trying to do as a product, is they're trying to make it easy. Just select. You already have freaking like 12 models, right? You can't even use your own API token for DeepSeek, for example. So you're kind of limited. So if you even so much as do the drop down and use an AI model, whether it's Claygent or just messaging a model, if you know all of those, if you know the names, and you're to the point where you're really building some good prompt assets, I mean, I pretty much that's what it comes down to. You should be definitely saving templates, because that's what we do. Not even so much templates, but building to the point where it's almost workflows within workflows. Because how many of us like to keep rebuilding freaking clay tables all the damn time? It's annoying, right?
Yeah.
In fact, I'm seeing what we do with our clients, almost a fork in the road in terms of, yeah, let me just do your go-to-market play. But now it's not so much go-to-market. To some clients, it's going to be go-to-market to test. But now it's actually more RevOps, where we need evergreen or unlimited workflows, right? And that is where the transition to N8N, in my opinion, is a powerhouse, because each row is an execution and you're not confined to the limitations of 50,000 rows in a particular table. So I would just say, go back to the basics of clay. And if you're doing tables that are, find email, waterfall, like very surface level shit, but then you're actually doing some real heavy lifting with your AI. Even if it's a basic Claygent, like cool, go get your summary for a website, whatever. But I'm finding even sometimes with websites, there's different tech within websites. You have your legacy ones where they'll be, rendered, and you can scrape the HTML, all that kind of stuff, and get accurate results. But you can't even use 4.0 Mini real-time search right now. Like, that's not even in the product. But that's a new model. Like, what the hell, right? So that's where I would say using N8N, or even Make, but I'd say, we're in N8N all the time. Just, get yourself a self-hosted instance, DigitalOcean, Droplet, or any other self-hosted, server, and you have unlimited workflows. You can just go to town with tinkering it. And N8N, their product has just been continuously, they're doing like 2 to 3 updates per week almost. And so if you can even get so much as that, you're gonna be a whole lot better, because then you can make your own freaking agents. And even agent is kind of a buzzword now, right? People are forcing agents on shit all the time when it shouldn't be that. So
sure. What do you think of this question? How do you use N8N instead of clay?
Great question. Well, think of it like this. If you need to do a lot right now, concurrent, and you need to look at it from a UI perspective in a spreadsheet, like a CSV file, Clay is going to be your best tool for sure. Because you could download a CSV, you do a scrape, whatever, Apollo, anything you get a scrape from, and you need to do shit quick, like a go-to-market, then Clay is going to be your powerhouse. But to me, that's not exactly long term, because who wants to build a clay table again, let alone one you did like 2 weeks ago or whatever. If you have freaking 75 columns and you don't know what the hell you left off with, you're trying to duplicate templates and then you get a different source. I would say long term, this is more RevOps, but I would start to use N8N and use N8N for more executions, because those workflows are going to be a lot more scalable. They could be iterated. They could be, new models. You can just switch the models out and nothing else changes. But also, there's one big thing that Clay doesn't have.
N8N plugged into what?
Just the triggers and actions. The same thing.
But where is it putting this data? Airtable or something like that? Or are you saying
Yeah, wherever your source is. I mean, you could just set up a trigger. You could do it from your database. You could park it on Google Sheets, or you could set up a database, like Supabase or wherever you park your data.
Yeah.
Yeah. So more execution.
Are you doing that? But you're not doing that. You're saying don't necessarily do like a rerunning trigger in Clay. You're saying build these scalable ones, put them into an Airtable or a GigaSheets or Supabase or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, because you're going to find out quick, especially now, people are doing all these plays where let me just scrape your whole freaking TAM. Well, For a lot of people, that's more than 50,000 rows,
Yeah.
right? So 50,000 rows, you're going to hit that ceiling real quick. Even if you're on the enterprise, that's more of a rolling basis. They haven't quite unlocked the 50K rows, to my knowledge. You're going to be limited on 50K rows on Clay, so you're already at a ceiling.
So
Uh,
where are you storing your data?
we're doing Supabase.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you storing your prompts? You talked about how you're kind of creating a prompt database. Do you have any
Mhm.
tools, anything that you use to store those?
Well, I used to use freaking Notion. I do a lot of Notion. Just put it in a code snippet and just so you can copy and paste just to store that. We're using Langflow. For Langflow is pretty cool. It's a little bit more technical, but I like that because it's a lot more LangChain implementation. So if you want to bring that into Cursor in terms of full code agents like Crew AI or anything like that. But
You
for
can just
shipping,
you can just share all of those prompts with the whole crew after the
yeah.
chat. That'd be great.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. It's so I would just say, man, the prompts, if you're just going off on a whim on prompts and it works, like cool, but those are your assets. That's the real work of being able to build it out and then you come up with your initial like V1 prompt, right? And then plug that into a larger model like O1 or O3 or deep thinking like Grok 3 or any Gemini or thing like that, and just throw the prompt and ask it to be clear, concise, and expand on it so it's a lot more clear for the smaller models like 4.1 or 4.0 mini if you're still using that. So, and then you can actually have a good refined. And more often than not, you're going to find yourself. I mean, I almost do everything in Markdown now just because it's easier. So, and it talks to the LLM a lot easier. So,
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean,
yep.
that's an advanced skill set for sure. So, what are some of the evergreen campaigns that you build for your clients?
Lead scoring is huge. Lead scoring, even not just so much lead scoring because obviously that's subjective. You can
What do you mean lead scoring? Positive response comes in, you score it, you say, hey, this is what they do, this is what we give them as a score.
Yeah, so even initial scrapes where you're trying to score and more prioritization. So you'll do like head count, industry, a number of different criteria that means to them, right? I mean, even like recruiting as far as like history, funding rounds. I mean, it covers a lot, right? But whatever to the client is important to them, you ask them, say, okay, what data do you have? Where is your where's your most effective clients or your customer base? Is it United States, Europe, wherever? What is the size of the company? What are some key things that we want to quantify? And then what you could do, because a lot of people do lead scoring in Clay, but that is kind of subjective. But the thing that I love the most is, for example, N8N. You can just apply a freaking code node, get some simple JavaScript, apply an algorithm to that, and then you could do both a qualitative and quantitative score for people that do reply and kind of know where they're at. So,
Are you doing response management for your clients? Do you handle their
mhm.
responses?
Yeah, we do. So we do. I just call it advanced sentiment analysis because not all yeses are just yeah, I want a demo.
Mhm.
It's sometimes yes, but later, or yes, or sometimes it's a no, but it's actually a positive reply. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, and you said before the call you were super excited. You couldn't wait to switch over to Rev Reply and ditch your whole
Yeah,
system.
yeah, dude. Absolutely,
Um,
bro.
totally. Question: do you use a CRM for lead scoring, or how do you communicate that with them?
Slack. I like to do the Slack. I just keep it simple. We have a dedicated channel for that. That way they could see very clear. Slack, I love the blocks, because you can really make it refined. You can even do human in the loop actions where they click a button and then they can either fill out a form or you could trigger next actions. The human in the loop, especially with NAN, has really improved a lot. Um, and so I would just say keep it simple. There's certain actions you could do that you can automate from there, but just try because they're new. At least my clients, they're new to these things. They want to have that touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we do the same, right? So we've got a client communication channel, and a Rev Reply channel, and a website visitors channel, right?
Hmm.
And we try and like I do want like our clients to be constantly receiving like these positive yeah, like positive website visitor. Like I think that's a
Yeah.
really good thing. It creates some positive momentum and gets people excited.
Yep.
And so yeah, we do the same. It's a little bit more difficult with clients that are email only or a little bit more, focused on like, hey, we don't use Slack. Teams, oh my God, Teams is impossible to get anything to send to.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
I
So,
tell them, like, just jump on the Slack train. That's a whole lot
right?
easier. And
Oh
the
my.
blocks messaging is, I mean, it's beautiful. What can you say? Teams will never be that way.
Yeah, no, never. So Arnold is really trying to drive this home. He is really trying to get the squeeze for the juice, right? What are some evergreen campaigns you build for clients besides lead scoring? Anything that you do on a reoccurring basis?
Yeah, well, inbound is a huge thing. Not even so much website visitors because we all know how that goes if it's a hit or miss. But I would say inbound leads and prior to and really just kind of going all bound. Like we do a lot of cold outbound, but if you can even so much as have people that are in their database to keep that current, but then do lookalikes, through like Panda or Ocean. But then also evergreen campaigns is if you get a positive reply, you can expand on that. And this is an N8N more evergreen workflow because you can do a lot of the same API calls in N8N. I mean, it's all just API calls, and just apply that. Drop into a new sequence, through Instantly or Smartly or whatever your choice is, and that's it. That's 100% automated. The other thing that I like to do, just because things between starting manual workflows and then you have 100% like evergreen automated workflows, I usually just like to put a quick emoji for my team and I to know a lightning bolt like right before it to know that it is powered and that we just need to monitor the error handling or any sort of anomalies that happen so we can have a good pulse on that. That way I know when I go into a table, is this manually triggered through a scrape or is this 100% triggered and all that stuff, if that makes sense.
Do you push all error handling to one Slack channel? That's what we do.
Yes and no. I like to have my own main one, but then there's specific topics based on whatever that might be where it has its own, and then I'll just trigger it to that one.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, that's like a little more advanced thing, but it definitely helps us. Um,
Yeah.
because like if you don't have error handling go somewhere, you just never see it. It's
Right.
just super important.
Are you
All right,
doing N810 then for yours?
what's up?
N8N?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
So do
use
you
an
use
absolute boatload
do
of
you use
like,
the execution node, the execution data node? Oh yeah, yeah, okay. I've
yeah.
that one is a huge one just to be able to search the queries because if you're going through hundreds of executions or thousands, you just got to make it easy for yourself to debug, right? So
Oh yeah, 100%. All right, a couple basics, right? So most of us are using Claygent 4.0 Mini API. Tell us like what models you're using for what, how we can up our game easily in Clay. Like
Mhm.
let's do some, I think practical advice for all of us that are feeling a little bit um, basic compared to you.
I'm in the same boat as you guys, man. Just try to stay sharp, right? I would say do the prompt engineering, utilize the system prompt compared to the user. I mean, a lot of them are kind of cohesive, and I think they're kind of meshing with the newer models that are coming. If you have the system role says you are a helpful agent or helpful assistant, and then you define it as like, no, you're a sales development representative from RevApply, like it's going to clearly know. But I think organization and knowing the big three, which is define who the AI is, define the parameters of the task, provide good and bad examples of that task to address any edge cases, and then define the output. And that output, try to think big picture of like what are you actually wanting as an output. If it's going to be something that's generative as far as copy or piecing together a piece of the copy, or if it's more taking, unstructured or fuzzy logic, whatever that might be, into actual structured data so you can really better understand and move forward through a filtering process, kind of, sort of. Um, I would
Without going
say,
into too much length, we talked yesterday about look, if your prompting sucks or you're like mediocre at prompting or you're kind of just out there taking shots, go put your prompt in 3.0 or 1.0, like go
yep,
put it in GPT and say, help me refine this prompt and make it better. Like
that's right.
that's it. Give me
Yep,
a more structured output. Like
yep,
I love the Jordan Crawford method, the Cannonball method, the GTM. Let's talk to it in whisper flow,
yep.
but and that works too, especially on some use cases. But there are other use cases where, like, dude, if you need outputted structured data without errors, go into AI, tell it to make your prompt more airtight so there will be less
Hmm.
errors or faulty outputs.
Right.
and then it will make it better. It will probably say, "Hey, kick into JSON. Here's like the things." Like it will make it better ultimately.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
let's talk about like, all right. So again, like I said, look, we're relying on 4.0 Mini for everything in Clay. Let's be realistic, or talk to me about your favorite. Like, let's zip through your top five,
Mhm.
and then which ones you're using directly in Clay.
Great question. So 4.0 mini is no more in my book. 4.1 is freaking good. I was using, I like to use Llama 4. Llama 4 on Grok with a Q is legit because the response time is extremely fast. And believe it
Llama
or not, I think Llama
4
4 is actually not that
on
bad. What's
Grok.
that?
Llama 4 on Grok.
Yes.
What do you mean by
Yeah, so
that?
there's two Groks. There's Grok with a K, which is Elon's,
Yeah.
thing, which is great, Grok 3. And then there's Grok with a Q, which is the OPUs. It's a hardware service. So they park open source models like Mistral and Llama 4 and all the open source, right? It's basically kind of like an alternative to Hugging Face, or you can host they host different models on their hardware, and they brag about tokens per second and inference things like that. But it's super. I mean, if you
Technical level to set up Llama on Grok, because I've never done anything like that.
zero, just sign up for their pay per use API.
Okay,
Zero setup. Yeah,
amazing.
you go to Grok Cloud or GROQ, and then they'll point to the console there. Grok is legit. Llama 4, I mean, I've been playing with that. Grok 3 API just came out. I just like to call them the consultants. They all have their mommies and daddies for different use cases, right? So Big Daddy Google, if I need to pull something from Google, I'm going to use Gemini 2.5. For usually everything, especially Clay, I'm sticking to, I guess the 4.0 mini, but now it's the 4.1 because even last night I was testing 4.1, Nano, Mini, and the regular version. And Nano is legit and it's fast as shit. It's really fast. So,
Yeah, so that'll be good for enriching a lot. And Nano is cheaper. Is it
mhm.
more expansive or less expensive? Is Nano bigger or smaller than Mini? It's
Well,
bigger,
they
right?
all have 1 million context windows now.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that I think is huge because Forum Mini and a lot of the rest of the previous ones all had 128K context window. Context window is basically working memory, right? And the unique thing here about what we do with obviously Clay is you just have one shot. So there's no working memory. It's not a chat bot. You have one shot. So you might as well use all of that context window or the majority of it to make your prompts extremely refined, right? If it takes you like an hour or two or even more to make a solid prompt, you're in the right boat, right? At least
But if
leveraging.
you make it way more massive, I don't think I've ever used a 128K context window really. I mean,
No,
that
no,
would
no.
be certainly very cost prohibitive, right? So
Yeah,
I do remember like that would be more for like direct, like really high level or like something really specific. But I
right.
do remember when like it was like 8K context window. We're going to 16K.
I know, yeah. That's like dial-up modems. If I might be dating myself, be like, dude, 56K modem on
Oh my God.
AOL. Oh my gosh.
Well, hopefully goes at that pace. All right, let's hit a couple questions here. Um, let's jam through this one. Oops. Uh, Geez Louise. Could you give us some example top five N8N workflows? Bust them out.
Yeah, I would say, well, it used to be parsing JSON until Clay released that. So finally, good on Clay on that. I do the wraparound as far as Ocean. So a lot of times, if you do a lookalike, it'll just parse it out to where it needs to be added as columns. So that's a good use case if you're calling out competitors or lookalikes in your copy. But if you need to do the wraparound, then I'll just split it out and reroute into a webhook table. So these little quick one-offs where I'm just using NAN to kind of stretch the limits of Clay or their because I don't want to do a write to other table with all the rest of them. It's just a lot faster to bust that out. The other ones are very simple use case agents where if I just simply want to use Gemini 2.5 or if I want to use Grok 3 and Clay hasn't released those LLMs or the newest ones, then I'll just design a quick agent for that. Copywriting, so much like like Octave and stuff like that, I like to just also store a database of client use cases, case studies, offer, value prop, and then I'll store that to a Google Doc, and then just copy and paste their own agent, so I could at least better understand, more for necessarily lead scoring, but just to generate some good value proposition ideas so I could plug into copywriting. So stuff like that. I beat down lead scoring just because for our clients, it's a lot of qualifying and actually knowing like where people are at. The other ones too is Appify. Believe it or not, I mean Appify has their own cron jobs that you can trigger, but I almost like to parse it where it's a scheduled job, and then you can just immediately from ChatGPT do a whole list of JSON, and it's easier to copy and paste and just apply that, and then apply the same actors, and then send that to a webhook table in Clay. That's automated. So all that kind of stuff where you can copy and paste. So it's really building that systems that is repetitive and try to keep your Clay tables as light as possible because repeating them is annoying at
Yeah.
scale.
Yeah, I know. We've already hit the row limit and a bunch of times, all kinds of shit. But
Yep.
quick question: what's your stack? What's your go-to stack for your clients right now?
As far as which ones?
Everything. I mean, well, like the main bulk of your clients that you're doing outbound for, is it,
Yeah.
what sending platform, what
Yep.
tools, what are you using?
We use, I use Lead Magic primarily. We use Piloter. Piloter is a powerhouse for us. We use Firecrawl for scraping. There's Zenros, things like that. But Piloter and Firecrawl are really good for us. We use Clay, we use N8N. For heavier lifting, we use LangFlow just because there's a little bit more coding, flexibility there with LangChain. But Instantly is the main one. We've since sunset Smart Lead. I wish them well. They're great. They're great people, but we've primarily used Instantly.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bison as well. So we use Bison. We have that as well. In terms of there's different use cases for all that. What else is there?
We all
Slack.
know, look, the space is like, look, dude, like everything's ebbs and flows, and
It is.
I think that everyone understands that. Like, look, no harm, no foul here if we move. Like, we got to do
Yep.
what's best for us, and if there's incremental lift right now, we need to do that. Maybe it switches
Yep.
back in 2 months. Maybe it totally flip flops, in which case we'll have to do it again. But
Yep.
like, we are going to go wherever the positive responses go, and
Mhm.
incremental when you're sending a couple million emails a month is a fucking big deal, right?
It is. Yeah, for sure. And I know there's a lot of inbox guys in here. We're all just hustling and everybody's doing. We have a fucking awesome group, dude. So everybody's doing it right. But I have to shout out to
Except Tim.
Abhishek.
He's always a bit sketchy, but it's okay.
Who?
Tim.
Oh yeah,
Tim
Tim's.
Ryan.
Tim's a clown, man. When I see his avatar, I'm like, dude, what kind of hairline is that? You just go up to him, you're like, dude, I need to go get a wig or something. Like,
Yeah, right. Is that AI?
I know, right?
It's
Yeah.
just Tim.
So he's a clown, man. He's good stuff. Yeah, I mean, we have a good crew, man. You definitely built out a good crew. Like you said, Tuesday TT group is like a second fam. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, man, it's been great, man. So last roundup. I know I kept on veering all over. So name top five LLMs that you're using.
Well, OpenAI, Gemini 2.5, or 4.1. Definitely get on the 4.1 train.
So 4.1,
Uh-huh.
Gemini 2.5 for Google use cases.
Google use cases, yeah. Claude is a powerhouse for coding and creative.
Yep.
Yep. Grok 3 is solid. A fifth one.
Don't worry
Llama
about it.
4.
That's it. What's up?
Llama 4 is legit on Grok with a Q. It's not bad. It's been consistent, believe it or not. Some people give it a bad rap, but I mean, it just came out, so I don't know. It's been
Any
working right
stack,
for me.
any stack for monitoring deliverability. So not just like email inbox, but like actually doing testing. So we use N8N for our own tests, but like, do you any tools or technical things that you use?
Yeah, I mean, we use Instantly's placement tests. I think is legit. It's been working great. Of course, there's Email Guard too, which works great as well. It's almost like having that email receiving infra, right? So Email Guard and Instantly's placement tests. So we do automated on there, and then we just monitor that to make sure inboxes are firing out all cylinders, letting in the inbox. So, but we
All
keep
right.
it simple. That's really about it.
Email inbox stack 2 would be helpful. No one here will be offended if you don't mention them.
Like ESPs.
Yeah, I
Oh, you
think
talking
like
about service?
yeah, it's okay. You
Shout
can
out, I gotta say, we all have a lot of great people in this crew. I love them all. But Abhishek and Arnav with Iced Automations, he's a youngin too. Those are some young bucks, but they're smart. They're smart cookies. I'm glad to have them in our group.
Oh, I
So,
love him, man. Avi and Arnav, yeah, Arnav's at ASU right now, and
yeah,
I tried to connect him with my brother who went to ASU just so I could like,
yeah,
here's the tips on how to make the most of ASU because if you do, you'll have a good time.
it's
Uh,
true. Yeah, I forgot
so
to mention I'm gonna be in LA next month, dude. So we got to get together. So, hell yeah,
absolutely, we'll get ready to see the dark side of LA.
that's right.
Andre can attest to that. All right, thank you very much, Brandon. It's been a pleasure. Thanks all for coming, and yeah, great session, brother. Thank you so much.
You too, buddy. All right, see you guys
Later,
later.
y'all.